Lux presents Hollywood. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, bring you the Lux Radio Theater. Proudly presenting Photoplay Magazine's Gold Medal Award picture, Sitting Pretty, starring Robert Young, Maureen O'Hara, and Clifton Webb. Ladies and gentlemen, your producer, Mr. William Keeley.
Greetings from Hollywood, ladies and gentlemen. This is the big night of the season in the Lux Radio Theater, because tonight we present the picture that you, the moviegoers of America, have chosen as the one you like best in 1948. It's that delightful comedy, Sitting Pretty, selected by you in a nationwide poll for Photoplay Magazine. Our stars are Maureen O'Hara, Clifton Webb, and Robert Young, the original cast, which made the picture a hit for 20th Century Fox. After tonight's performance, Sitting Pretty will receive Photoplay Magazine's coveted Gold Medal Award, one of Hollywood's highest honors. We had an idea some time ago that Sitting Pretty might win this award because every mail has brought requests for it. These letters told us what you thought of Lux Flakes, too. And I'm sure that if we could take a poll of housewives, their Gold Medal Award would go to Lux Flakes. Here's the curtain going up for Act One of Sitting Pretty, starring Clifton Webb as Lynn Belvedere, Robert Young as Harry, and Maureen O'Hara as Tacey. Hummingbird Hill is a typical suburban community where everybody knows a little more than just a little about everybody else. For example, the neighbors all know that the Harry King's housekeeper simply up and quit today, leaving that nice Mrs. King with that big house, those 3 noisy children, and that terrible dog to take care of all by herself. Yes, the news went through the community like a flash, chiefly because of Clarence Appleton. Mr. Appleton lives on the corner and has very little to do except grow iris and mind other people's business.
Hello, Mr. Appleton. What are you doing with that feather?
I am endeavoring to obtain some pollen from these iris.
But why are you taking our flowers with the feather?
I am not tickling, young man. I am gathering. I have your mother's permission, so just run along and don't bother me.
We won't bother you. Just tell us what you're doing.
Have you boys ever watched a bumblebee flitting from flower to flower?
Sure.
Well, I'm doing just what the bumblebee does.
Gosh, can you sting, too?
Oh, run away and play. No, wait, just a minute. Your housekeeper left today, didn't she?
She sure did. You should have heard her, too.
Indeed. Tell me, what did she say?
Hey, Larry, here comes Pop. Pop! Hiya, Pop! Hiya! Pop! Hey, Mom! Pop!
Who left his bicycle in the driveway?
I guess I did, Pop. Sorry.
How many times do I have to tell you kids never to do that?
Did you lose
left...
another case in court today?
No, I didn't lose another case in court today. I guess it's the heat. And Mrs. Maypole quitting. Some housekeeper.
She sure was a drip, Pop.
Maybe you've got something there. Well, how are you, fellas?
Oh, fine.
What's wrong with Roddy? What's he crying for this time?
Oh, he's just crying, Pop. You know Roddy, he always has...
Get off! Henry, get down! Oh, do something! Pull him off of me! Can't you kids train that big ox not to jump on people?
He's just glad to see you, Pop.
Some watchdog. He's glad to see everybody. Now, look here, Henry.
Henry, leave that cat alone! Henry, come back, Henry! Come on, Murray, we better get Henry. Harry. Hi.
Hello, honey. Bad day, huh? I'm sorry about Mrs. Maypole.
Oh, Harry, she knew we had 3 children and a dog when she took the job.
Now, don't worry, honey. You'll find somebody else. Say, isn't that Clarence Appleton in the garden? What the devil's he doing?
Oh, that? Well, it seems that we have a very healthy male iris, and he asked if he could have some pollen so he could breed one of his own.
You don't say. Well, at least we should get our choice of the litter.
Oh, Harry, please. Now, about Mrs. Maypole. Well, I've decided that we just can't afford a regular housekeeper anyway, unless, of course, you got that raise.
Well, no, not yet. But being invited to the boss's house for dinner is a hopeful sign. Who'd you get for a sitter tonight?
I didn't, Harry.
You didn't, but we're due there in an hour.
Oh, I phoned at least 15 of the little darlings. They're all tied up, sitting. Oh, it's no use, Harry. Just phone Mr. Hammond and tell him that we can't come.
Okay, Tacey. He'll probably fire me, but okay.
Sometimes I wish he would fire you. The sooner you stop letting Mr. Hammond kick you around
Look, my love, for the last time, there's more to starting a law practice than just hanging out a shingle. You have to make contacts, and the only way you can do that is with an old established outfit. You know I'm right, don't you?
Well, I know you're a lot brighter than Mr. Hammond thinks you are.
Thank you. Now, what are we going to do about a sitter? I mean, for the future.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to advertise. I'm going to put an ad in the paper for a resident sitter.
What?
A resident babysitter. Someone who can live in the spare room.
Oh, you're crazy.
Oh, I knew you'd say that. But just you wait and see. There must be someone we can get.
Mrs. King? Mrs. Harry King?
Yes?
Good evening. I am Lynn Belvedere.
You're who?
I'm the party who answered your ad in the paper. Lynn Belvedere.
But you can't be.
Why not? Have you ever seen me before?
Oh, no. Of course I haven't.
Very well, then.
Well, this is quite a shock. You see, we advertised for a sitter and, naturally we thought you were a woman. In your letter...
Your advertisement, madam, of which I have a copy, makes no mention of sex.
Possibly not, but it was certainly implied. I need someone to help with the housework and sit with my children.
Mrs. King, I happen to dislike all children intensely. But I assure you that I can readily attend to their necessary, though unpleasant wants. Sorry. I've just had a long and very trying journey in a day coach. May I see my room?
Your room? But my husband isn't home yet.
That, if I may say so, is a matter of complete indifference to me. I take it you're not retaining my services to sit with him.
But he's at the station. He's looking for you.
I left the station 20 minutes ago.
Well, he's expecting a woman. We just assumed that you were a woman.
You have made that painfully clear, Mrs. King. Now, may I please see my room?
Why, well, I guess so. It's upstairs.
Thank you.
Hi, Mama.
Boys, what are you doing still up? Now, go back to your room and go to sleep.
Is he a babysitter? Gee whiz.
Oh, these are my sons, Mr. Belvedere, Larry and Tony. The baby's asleep.
Well, that's a blessing, isn't it?
Mom, why is it a man?
They seem to be quite fascinated by you, Mr. Belvedere.
The fascination, I assure you, is not mutual.
Gee whiz.
Oh, this is the room, Mr. Belvedere. We tried to fix it up as nicely as we could. Of course, since you're a mister and not a miss, one or two things are obviously a little out of place.
Flowers?
Yes, I cut them myself this
I'll
afternoon.
just drop them here in the wastebasket. For my work, Mrs. King, I require an atmosphere of spot and simplicity.
And may I ask what your profession is?
Certainly. I am a genius.
Well, good night, Mr. Belvedere.
Good night, Mrs. King.
Harry, is that you?
You and your cockeyed classified ads. You never even got off the train.
Well, darling... Oh, darling, I've got something to tell you. While you were
What's
gone...
so funny? Well, tell me.
I'm afraid to. You socked me.
Oh, stop the comedy and tell me.
Mrs. King?
Yes?
Before I retire, may I inquire what time you serve breakfast?
About 7:30.
Thank you. Perhaps I should tell you now. I like fruit juice, coffee, and thinly sliced gluten bread, toasted.
I'll try to remember.
Thank you. Good night.
Who in the heck was that?
That, darling, is Lynn Belvedere.
Huh? Tacey, it's a man!
Harry,
Must you read your paper at the breakfast table?
Huh? I always read paper at breakfast. Roddy, eat your cereal.
Harry, please. What are we going to do about Mr. Belvedere?
Very simple. As soon as he deigns to join us at breakfast, I'm going to kick him out. Right on his ear.
Gee whiz, Pop. I think Mr. Belvedere's kind of cute. Me, too. Besides, he says he's a genius.
Well, I don't think he's cute, and genius or no genius, I'm going to see Mr. Belvedere right now.
Oh, I'd better go up with you. Now, you boys stay right where you are and finish breakfast. Oh, and help the baby with his cereal.
Okay, Mom. Hiya, Robbie. How you doing with the cereal? He's grabbing a spoon, Larry. You better watch out. Oh, you wouldn't throw cereal at me, would you, Roddy? Why, that's baby stuff throwing cereal at... I warned you, Larry. I warned you. Roddy. Oh, gee whiz. Right in my hair.
Mr. Belvedere, kindly open your door.
Not a
Mr.
sound.
Belvedere.
Not a sound, Harry. He's probably still asleep.
Well, we'll soon find out.
Good morning.
Oh, Harry, look. He's standing on his head.
Good morning. You are standing on your head, aren't you?
I am.
Oh, we're sorry to dash in on you like this, Mr. Belvedere, but we did knock.
I don't doubt it, Mrs. King. When I practice my yoga, I'm completely out of this world. I take it breakfast is ready.
Now, look here, you. When I talk to somebody, I want to look him in the eye, not in the foot. Well, say something.
It's no use, dear. He's out of this world. He told you so. Come on, Harry.
That's so silly. I never heard of such a thing, standing on his head of all...
Here's your coffee, Mr. Belvedere.
Thank you.
Oh, Roddy, no. Now put down that spoon. Roddy, all over Mr. Belvedere's sleeve.
Don't do that, little boy.
Now, look here, Belvedere. A joke is a joke, but this can't go on.
Kindly be more precise, Mr. King. What can't go on?
You're staying here, that's what.
I'm perfectly willing to carry out my end of our agreement. I see no reason why you should default on yours.
But it's impossible. You couldn't do the things we require. For example, could you bathe Roddy?
Mrs. King, for many years I have successfully bathed individuals of all ages and sexes, and I've never had any complaints. Little boy, don't do that again.
That's enough, Roddy. Now stop it. Mr. Belvedere, my wife tells me you're a genius.
That is correct.
Well, if I'm not too inquisitive, do you mind telling me what form it takes? Your genius?
I am, in my way, a philosopher.
Oh, I see. You just sit and think.
Mr. King, if more people just sat and thought, the world might not be in the stinking mess that it is.
Well, maybe you've got something there.
And you can really handle children?
Henry, I believe you mentioned only 3 children.
Henry's the dog. He's a Great Dane. Probably the only Great Dane in the country who would rather chew my shirts than chew a bone.
I dislike dogs intensely, Mr. King, almost as much as I dislike children. And your children, if I may say so, have peculiarly repulsive habits and manners. However, I assure you I can cope with them successfully if given a free hand. Gesundheit.
Tony, Larry, sit down and finish your breakfast. Tacey, I'm going to the office. So long, kid. See you tonight.
Bye, Dad.
Oh, Tacey, would you mind walking to the car with me?
Oh, excuse me, Mr. Belvedere.
And where do you boys think you're going?
We'll go to the car, too.
You will remain seated.
Huh?
Sit down. Finish your breakfast and chew each mouthful 28 times.
Why?
Not 20, mind you, nor 26, but 28 times. As for your baby brother...
Nice going, Roddy. Bullseye. Right in Mr. Belvedere's face.
So what do you think, Tacey? Should we give the guy a whirl? Maybe, for a day or two?
Oh, I suppose so. At least the boys seem to like him.
Roddy, what's happened to Roddy?
Oh, don't just stand there. He's been hurt. He's screaming.
Larry, Tony, what happened to the baby?
Harry, look. Cereal. Roddy's got cereal all over his head.
Yeah, bowl and all. Larry, if you told Roddy to dump his cereal on his head,
I didn't tell him anything, Pop. I was chewing my food. Yeah, me too. 28 times.
Mr. King, As you can observe by the condition of my face and clothing, your youngest son has been pelting me with cereal ever since I sat down to this grisly meal.
Huh?
Therefore, I decided to teach the child an object lesson.
You dumped cereal on his head?
I did precisely that, Mrs. King, and you will note that he didn't like it. I guarantee that he will never throw cereal at me or anyone else again, ever.
Mr. Belvedere, consider yourself hired. He's done that to me, too. You know, you've got something.
I couldn't agree with you more, Mr. King. You might even say I've got everything.
Hiya, fellas.
Hiya, Pop. Hey, look at us.
Well, what goes with you two?
We're standing on our heads, Pop. Mr. Belvedere taught us. It's yoga. Oh, it feels swell. He says it relaxes you.
Well, just be careful you don't relax so much you break your necks.
We won't, Pop.
Hi, baby. Everything under control?
Hello, darling. Oh, Harry, he's terrific.
He's got the kids out there standing on their heads.
And they love him. They've been as good as gold all day.
They've what?
He gave Roddy a bath, and there wasn't a peep out of him.
Well, I'll be... Hey, the dog, what's the matter with Henry? Is he sick?
No, darling.
But he must be. Look, he just woke in and lay down. Tacey, that's the first time I've ever seen Henry walk. Every other time he's just galloped. He's not barking.
No, darling. It seems that Mr. Belvedere used to be a dog trainer or something.
Huh?
And he had a long talk with Henry this morning. Henry's been quiet as a mouse ever since. Isn't it wonderful?
It's incredible.
But there's just one thing, Harry. Mr. Belvedere, well, he's sort of mysterious.
How do you mean?
Well, he locks himself in his room. I went up and listened, but I couldn't hear a sound. What do you suppose he does up there? He's so quiet.
Well, maybe he stands on his head. That doesn't make much noise.
Oh.
Is he up there now?
Oh, no. He's out taking a walk.
Then why are we whispering?
Oh, I forgot. He says he's going to go out for a walk every night before dinner. Harry, do you suppose it would be very unethical if we went
It
up
most certainly
and...
would. But let's go.
But I know it's the right key, Harry. Funny it doesn't work.
Well, if it's the right key, it's got to work. Here, let me do it.
You're wasting your time, Mr. King.
Oh, hello.
Good evening. Knowing human nature as I do, I suspected that you might try to snoop. This is a new lock on the door.
But it can't be. I didn't order a locksmith.
There was no occasion to, Mrs. King. I am an expert locksmith. And now, if you'll excuse me, I will see you both later at dinner.
Harry, will you, Well, you'd better tell the boys to come in and wash.
That won't be necessary, Mr. King. They're scrubbing their grimy little paws right now.
I don't know, Tacey. He may be all right, but let's face it, he is a screwball.
Well, a little eccentric, maybe, but...
Are you, Father?
Father? Since when am I father?
Pardon me, sir, but I wish you'd see if Tony and I are good and clean. Are we, Father? Mr. Belvedere says that cleanliness is next to godliness.
Well, dear, need I say more?
I guess he stays, Tacey.
After a brief intermission, we'll present Act Two of Sitting Pretty. What is that book you were chuckling over, Libby?
Oh, Chicken Every Sunday.
Oh.
20th Century Fox has just made a movie of it, and the picture was so funny, I wanted to read the book and laugh all over again.
I think Dan Daly is great as the dreamer looking for Easy Street.
And Celeste Holm makes such a practical wife. She loved the chance to play such a natural role.
Life in Mother's boarding house provides plenty of human situations. I remember the scene in Chicken Every Sunday where Celeste is washing dishes and Dan insists on taking over.
Well, they had a good many retakes on that to get it just right. Celeste washed quite a pile of dishes, all told. And she was very pleased that the studio gave her Lux Flakes to do them.
What could be more natural? Millions of women who care about their hands never use anything else for dishes. Lux Flakes are so mild and gentle, they don't redden or roughen hands. as strong soaps often do.
And yet it costs so little to use Lux Flakes for dishes 3 times a day, it's really easy on the budget. The tiny diamonds of Lux are so sheer, they practically melt into suds the instant water touches them.
I've never seen such thick, rich suds. These tiny Lux diamonds are a real triumph of the world-famous Lever Laboratories.
And the suds last so long, these wonderful diamonds actually go further. Ounce for ounce, they wash up to twice as many dishes as any of 10 other leading soaps tested. They're thrifty.
Here's our producer, William Keeley.
Act 2 of Sitting Pretty, winner of Photoplay Magazine's Gold Medal Award. Starring Maureen O'Hara as Tacey, Clifton Webb as Lynn Belvedere, and Robert Young as Harry. Well, you just wouldn't recognize the King household anymore. Peace and serenity, like a halo, have settled over the little family. A blessing directly traceable to the gentleman in the spare bedroom, Mr. Lynn Belvedere. Now, on a wintry Sunday morning, Mr. Belvedere returns from a little visit downtown. Rounding a corner, he encounters the community gossip, Clarence Appleton.
Why, it's Belvedere. Good morning, Belvedere.
You will kindly address me as Mr. Belvedere until I grant you permission to drop the title. A contingency which seems hardly likely, Mr. Appleton.
Well, really, I intended no offense. Tell me, Mr. Belvedere, are you completely happy with the Harry Kings?
Only an idiot is completely happy anywhere.
But I understand those dear little boys are devoted to you, and that Mrs. King considers you quite the treasure.
Indeed.
Oh, my dear mother is very anxious to make your acquaintance, Mr. Belvedere. Perhaps you could drop in on your next afternoon off?
I am not a servant, Mr. Appleton. My afternoons are always my own.
Oh, well, in that case, drop in any time for a glass of sherry.
I dislike sherry as much as I deplore the habit of dropping in on people uninvited.
But, Mr. Belvedere, I am inviting you.
And I, sir, am declining. Good day.
I don't know why we've got to be so particular, Tacey. I just thought we could surprise the kids with a snowman.
If we're making a snowman, let's make it properly. Now, you finish the arms and leave the face to me.
Okay, Mommy. We all know you were a great sculptress before I married you.
Any face, even a snowman's, must have expression and character.
Well, hurry up, or the kids will be home from Sunday school. Tacey, look. Good morning, Mr. Belvedere.
Good morning, good morning.
Oh, I guess you left the house before we even got up.
Yes, well, cold enough for you?
Nippy, but it suits me.
Well, how do you like our snowman?
Mr. King, you should have let your wife do the face.
I did the face.
Oh, well, it will soon melt.
Tacey, what do you suppose he's got in that package?
Oh, how do I know? I've given up wondering about anything he does or has.
Well, it made a noise. I distinctly heard a sort of metallic ticking.
So did I.
If he's doing anything illegal up in that room, we could get into a lot of trouble.
Harry, do you suppose if you climbed up on that tree and, well, maybe crawled out on that limb,
I could look right in his window. Tacey, go in the house.
Well, why?
Go in and watch the stairs. If he comes down, find some way to warn me.
All right, but be careful.
All I'm going to do is climb a tree.
Can you see anything, Harry?
Not yet, but I'm not high enough. Stop looking at me and watch for Mr. Belvedere.
I am watching.
I'll know what he's up to in just a minute now.
Climbing trees, Mr. King, at your age.
Huh? Oh,
Better come out, Mrs. King. Bring a roll of gauze, please, and some adhesive tape.
Ow, ooh, take it easy, will you? That's my wrist.
Kind of keep still. You're lucky that no bones were broken.
I must say that's a very professional bandage, Mr. Belvedere. There aren't many people who could do that.
That's substantially what General Pershing told me during the First World War.
You were a doctor, too?
A bone specialist.
Oh, no. Is there anything you haven't been?
Yes, Mrs. King. I've never been an idler nor a parasite. Or have I ever climbed a tree to look into someone's bedroom? Now, Mr. King, how does your wrist feel?
I guess I'll live. I hope it's better by tomorrow. I've got to go to Chicago.
Indeed?
I thought I told you, Mr. Belvedere. Yes, he has to go to Chicago on business.
You'll have nothing to worry about, Mr. King. I shall endeavor to pinch hit for you at every available opportunity.
Well, thanks. That'll be just... Tacey, am I hearing things? Something squeaked.
Why, yes, I heard it too, like a bird.
That's precisely what you heard. The twittering of a bird. The cage is in the living room, Mrs. King.
Where on earth did it come from?
That was my package, which you and Mr. King stared at so pointedly a little while ago. I'm opposed to the practice of exchanging gifts at any time, but since you were gracious enough to give me 3 pairs of excellent woolen socks on the occasion of my birthday, I tried to get something for your anniversary that would give pleasure to your entire family. In brief, a canary bird.
Oh, how very kind of you.
Thank you, Mr. Belvedere.
Oh, he's beautiful. Does he sing?
Not yet, but I shall teach him.
Hey, Tacey, go out and tell Bill to lay off that horn, will you?
But, darling, you've got to catch a train, and if Bill and Edna are driving you to the station,
Nobody's driving me to the station. I've just decided I'm not going to Chicago.
Well, why not?
I can't go. I can't leave you here alone with Belvedere.
Alone with... Are you out of your mind?
Well, you seem to find him very attractive, Tacey.
I find the Grand Canyon attractive, too, but that doesn't mean that I'm in love with it.
You're mad about him.
Oh, I am insane with passion.
Now, look, Tacey, I'm not suggesting that you and Belvedere will carry on while I'm gone, but...
Oh, that's darn white of you.
But you know how gossip starts, and, well, I just
Look,
thought...
would you feel any better if I slept at Edna's house while you're gone?
Well, yes. Yes, I would, definitely.
The kids won't like it.
Well, I'll break it to them gently when they get home from school. You, sure you don't mind?
Certainly I'll mind. But every night I'll go over to Edna's and Bill's. Now pick up your bags, darling, and beat it.
You don't want to get a kiss?
No. I'm a one-man woman, and my heart belongs to Belvedere.
Oh, for heaven's sake. I'm coming, Bill. So long, honey.
You should be very gratified, Mrs. King.
Oh, Mr. Belvedere.
If you'll permit the observation, I believe your husband was actually jealous in his sophomoric fashion.
Mr. Belvedere, don't you consider eavesdropping a bit unethical?
Unethical, but fascinating. I particularly enjoyed your comparing me to the Grand Canyon. Now, there's rugged grandeur. You'll pardon me, Mrs. King. It's time I gave Roddy his bath.
Larry, wake up! Larry! What's the matter, Tony? Larry, I'm sick. My stomach hurts. Go back to sleep and you'll feel better. I can't. It hurts. Tell Mom. How can I tell Mom? You know she's sleeping at Aunt Edna's. I want my Mom. Will you pipe down, Tony? You'll wake Mr. Belvedere and Roddy. I don't care. Shh. Look, Tony, I know. Why don't you stand on your head the way Mr. Belvedere taught it? I already tried, but I only threw up. Okay, Tony. I'll wake Mr. Belvedere, but I'm warning you, he won't like it.
You kindly stop moaning, Tony. You requested your mother's presence, and I've already telephoned for her. She'll be here in a moment, and Larry, put that bottle down.
Tony said he wanted a drink, Mr. Belvedere.
A drink of gin? Can't you read, young man? The label on that bottle clearly says distilled London dry gin.
Oh, that. It really isn't gin, Mr. Belvedere. The regular water bottle got smashed. It's just ice water.
When your mother arrives, she can drown him in ice water as far as I'm concerned. Until then, put the bottle down.
Oh, are you sure you called the right number, Mr. Belvedere?
Kindly credit me with enough intelligence not to lose my head in a crisis. If I'm not mistaken, and I never am, there's a car turning down the corner right now.
It's all right, Tony, darling. It's all right. There now, back in bed and go to sleep. You'll be fine in the morning.
Gosh, Mama, thanks for coming.
Oh, did you take his temperature, Mr. Belvedere?
No, I'm satisfied that he simply has a bellyache. No more, no less.
Oh, well, he feels nice and cool.
I assure you I could have handled the situation perfectly well myself, only the child expressed a maudlin desire for his mother.
Well, I'm glad you did, Tony.
Are you going to sleep here, Mom?
No, dear. I'm going right back to Auntie Edna's. Oh, and by the way, Dopey, the next time you find a package of chewing gum, be sure it is chewing gum. Good night, darling. I'm sure he'll go right to sleep, Mr. Belvedere.
Whereas I should be plagued with insomnia.
I also hope you'll forgive my appearance. I don't usually rush through the streets in the middle of the night in a bathrobe and... Whoever could that be?
If you go to the door, you need not conjecture.
Oh. Mr. Appleton.
Please pardon the intrusion, Mrs. King, but I noticed all the lights go on, and knowing your husband is away, I felt constrained to dash over to see if anything was wrong.
No, thank you, Mr. Appleton. Everything is fine.
Oh, well, just a neighborly call, you might say, to offer my services if needed. I can see that they're not.
And how did you know our lights had gone on? Did you borrow your mother's binoculars, or were you perhaps looking for pollen on your iris?
Put down that bottle, Mr. Belvedere.
I shall, Mr. Appleton. I merely intend to have a drink.
Well, I can see that I'm not needed here.
Your vision is remarkably accurate.
Evil-minded little worm.
Mrs. King, do you know anyone who has a beehive? A good swarm of bees could ruin his iris.
I know. But how could you get them to swarm? Now, don't tell me you were also a beekeeper.
That is correct. Well, good night, Mrs. King.
Good night, Mr. Belvedere.
Well, I simply had to tell you, Horatio. As Harry King's employer, as the man he works for, you simply must...
Go on, Clarence. What else?
Isn't that enough? There I was, calling on an errand of mercy. Belvedere in his pajamas, and Tacey King in a negligee, cavorting about and guzzling gin.
This is awful. The wife of my own employee. Well, I'm sending for Harry King at once. Oh, I don't suppose you let this get around, Clarence. You haven't told anyone else.
Well, hardly anyone, Horatio.
Drunk. 3:00 in the morning. Miss Adams, take a telegram to Harry King.
Now, if you'll just hold that pose, Mr. Belvedere. Oh, you're not getting bored, are you, Edna?
Bored? I'm having a wonderful time. But I do have to run along. You may not have known it, Mr. Belvedere, but Tacey used to be quite a sculptress.
It's possible.
And I think it's very sweet of you to pose like this and give her a chance to practice.
My motives, Mrs. Philby, are not entirely unselfish. Someday they will need a bust of me in the Hall of Fame.
The only virtue you lack, Mr. Belvedere, is modesty.
I do not consider that a virtue.
Oh, I do. Harry is very modest.
Your husband has a great deal to be modest about.
Don't let him get you down, sweetie. See you at the house tonight, huh?
As usual, right after dinner.
Goodbye, Mr. Belvedere.
Thank you for going. Now perhaps we can get something accomplished.
I doubt it. It's your jaw, Mr. Belvedere. Your jaw, it just isn't right.
My jaw is perfect. Come here and I'll demonstrate. Now, if you place your fingertips at the base of my jaw...
Like this?
A little higher. That's it. There you are. Now, feel how the orbicularis oris operates. Now, over here, at the jawbone. Well, can't you feel it?
Oh, yes.
Well, this is a cozy little scene.
Harry! Why, darling, what a wonderful surprise. I didn't expect you till Thursday.
Pretty obvious you didn't. Would you mind telling me just what you two were doing?
I was permitting your wife to massage my larynx. And I might add, Mr. King, that your greeting to Mrs. King is scarcely cordial.
I'll greet my wife any way I like.
Harry!
I came back from Chicago because Mr. Hammond sent for me. I just came from his office with my head so full of gossip that I don't know whether...
Gossip? What gossip?
About you and Belvedere. Now, look here, Tacey.
Stop raising your voice.
I'll raise the roof if I want to. Tacey, look, I'm willing to believe that all these rumors about a drunken orgy with Belvedere are somewhat garbled, but...
So that's it. The fine hand of Clarence Appleton.
But my gosh, Tacey, just now when I came into the house, you were practically holding Belvedere in your arms.
She was merely feeling my bone structure.
You shut up and listen.
I am listening. All I can hear is a typical suburban husband reacting in a typically stupid and stuffy manner to a typical tempest in a teapot.
He's right. And as for that drunken orgy, Tony got us all up in the middle of the night with a stomach ache. I dashed over from Edna's and I wasn't in the house 10 minutes when that horrible little Mr. Appleton came snooping around.
Oh, well, I imagined it was something like that. Look, I'll admit it's all pretty silly, but...
Well, but what?
Well, I was just thinking that perhaps it might be simpler all around if Mr. Belvedere sought employment elsewhere.
I see. To satisfy malicious gossips like your dear boss and Clarence Appleton, you want us to kick Mr. Belvedere out.
In a word, yes.
And that is your final decision, Mr. King?
Yes. I'm sorry, but that's final.
No, Daddy, no.
Oh, hi, kids.
Please let him stay, please. Please, Father. I'll do anything you want, only please don't send Mr. Belvedere away.
That's enough of that. Your father's not the type to be swayed by sentimental pleading.
Don't let him go, Father, please. We love Mr. Belvedere. Don't go, Uncle Lynn.
Little boy, don't ever again, as long as you live, dare to call me uncle. By no stretch of the imagination could I possibly be a relative of yours. My name is Mr. Belvedere. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's better.
What the heck's the matter with Roddy?
Children are psychic, Mr. King. They can sense impending disaster.
Okay. I know when I'm licked. You can stay.
What? Roddy, stop crying.
And listen, the canary bird. He's singing.
You, sent for me, Mr. Hammond?
Yes, Harry, I did. Sit down, Harry, sit down. Harry, how long is it since you returned from Chicago?
Oh, about a month, Mr. Hammond.
A month. Harry, the firm of Horatio J. Hammond and Associates has a spotless name in this community. Absolutely spotless.
Yes, I'm sure it has.
And as I told you about a month ago, I consider it mandatory for all connected with this firm and their wives never to incur the slightest gossip of a scandalous nature.
Oh, now, wait a minute. If you're still harping about those stupid rumors...
I do not harp. Harry, where was your wife last night?
Now, look here, Mr. Hammond. This has gone far enough.
I agree with you. Last night, your wife and Mr. Belvedere were seen together at the Crystal Cafe. They were dancing the rumba.
That's ridiculous. Last night, Tacey and Edna Philby attended a lecture at the Women's Club.
You were with your wife?
No, I wasn't. I was tired and I went to bed early.
I don't doubt that Tacey might have attended the lecture. But I know that after the lecture, she was dancing the rumba with Mr. Belvedere at the Crystal Cafe. I saw them there myself. So did my wife, Mrs. Hammond. So did Clarence Appleton and his mother. Now for the details. Oh, it hurts me, Harry. It hurts me deeply to tell you this.
Harry, we're in the kitchen, darling. Mr. Belvedere is making the most delicious salad.
I'm glad he's here. What I've got to say is for both of you. Tacey, why didn't you tell me you were out dancing with this man last night?
Now, what have you heard?
Answer my question. Why didn't you tell me?
Well, I tried to tell you when I got home, but you were so sleepy and disagreeable you wouldn't listen.
Then why didn't you tell me this morning at breakfast?
I can be sleepy and disagreeable, too.
Mr. King, our meeting last night was purely coincidental, but most enjoyable.
Then you admit it.
Certainly. Moreover, he rumbas like a saint.
I don't care if he dances like Arthur Murray.
You may be interested to know, Mr. King, I taught Arthur Murray.
Now look, Tacey, your conduct is making me the laughingstock of Hummingbird Hill. Why, Mr. Hammond said, stop shredding that lettuce.
Life must go on, Mr. King.
Well, it's not going on with you in this house.
Harry, I think you'd better pull yourself together. After the lecture last night, Edna and I went to the Crystal Cafe for a cup of coffee. It just happened that Mr. Belvedere was there.
Go on, Tacey.
He was kind enough to dance with me. Then we each had a cocktail.
We weren't Dutch, Mr. King. I have neither the means nor the presumption to buy cocktails for other men's wives.
So suppose you apologize to both of us now for this absurd...
Apologize? I should apologize because of your indiscretions?
Very well, Harry. Until you come to your senses and stop letting Mr. Hammond run our lives, I'm going to take Roddy and go home to Mother.
Go right ahead. It's perfectly all right with me.
Oh, Harry.
It would be difficult to tell which of you is behaving more foolishly, but I think you have a slight edge, Mr. King.
You keep out of this. Well, I thought you were going home to Mother.
Very well, if that's the way you feel about it.
Satisfied, Mr. Belvedere? You've just smashed my home.
Stupidity never gives me satisfaction, Mr. King. Your wife is right. You owe her an abject apology.
I've half a mind to punch you right on the nose.
It takes half a mind to resort to such measures.
Why, you... Oh, my hand.
I believe you've splintered the door, Mr. King. I neglected to tell you that in my youth I was quite expert in the art of fisticuffs.
Get out of here.
Yes, Mr. King, yes. I think perhaps it's time I left.
We pause now for station identification. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Before we bring you Act 3 of Sitting Pretty, I'd like to have you meet our special guest, Helen Westcott, an ambitious young player who spends her free time as well as her working hours on the 20th Century Fox lot. How about that, Helen?
I just can't keep away, Mr. Keeley. I get a real thrill out of watching the stars work.
Then, if you saw A Letter to Three Wives being filmed, you had a chance to watch three stars at once.
Yes, I did. Linda Darnell is wonderful, the perfect glamour girl. And I think Ann Southern is absolutely right for a smart, successful career wife.
Jean Crane has the most sympathetic role, perhaps, as a young wife who doesn't know how to live up to the country club crowd.
It was exciting watching those big country club dad scenes in A Letter to Three Wives. But they worked on them so long, I felt sorry for Jean. She said her nylon stood up better than she did, under the strain of so much dancing.
I'm sure Lux Flakes had something to do with that, Helen.
Oh, you're right, Mr. Kennedy. The wardrobe girl told me it's a rule of the studio always to use Lux Flakes for stockings, just as they do for everything washable.
These tiny diamonds of Lux are a real economy. Scores of strain tests on all kinds of stockings prove it. Washing stockings with strong soap or rubbing with cake soap make runs come quickly. But with Lux Flakes, even sheer nylons last twice as long.
I do believe that's true, Mr. Kennedy. I'm devoted to Lux Flakes myself.
Well, then you've probably noticed how much faster these tiny diamonds of Lux dissolve. They bubble up into suds the instant water touches them. Make richer suds, too, that last and last. They're such perfect care for stockings, it's no wonder 90% of the makers of stockings recommend these tiny diamonds of Lux. Thank you for coming tonight, Helen Westcott.
Thank you.
Back now to our producer, William Keeley.
The curtain rises on the third act of Sitting Pretty. The Photoplay magazine Gold Medal Award winner, starring Clifton Webb as Lynn Belvedere, Robert Young as Harry, and Maureen O'Hara as Tacey. For 10 days now, Hummingbird Hill has had plenty to talk about. Tacey has taken the baby and rushed off to her mother's. Mr. Belvedere has mysteriously disappeared. And Harry is struggling unhappily to keep together what remains of his home. But now, something akin to an atom bomb has suddenly struck the community. A new novel has appeared in all the bookstores, and the critics are raving about it.
Unknown author writes brilliant satire of life in the suburbs. Sensational new novel hailed as best in years.
First and second printing sold out. Entire country clamoring for copies.
And what has this book to do with Hummingbird Hill? Plenty. It's all about Hummingbird Hill and the people who live there. And the author, of course, is none other than Lynn Belvedere. For certain readers, the novel holds a particular and dismaying interest. People like Clarence Appleton.
Mother, have you read the second chapter? It's all about me and about you, too. Do you see what he calls us? He calls us... Mother, speak to me. It's Clarence. It's your boy, Clarence. Mother!
And then there are others like Horatio J. Hammond.
It's slander, that's what it is. Get Harry King in here right away. Bring me every book we have on libel laws. Why, I'll sue to the highest court in the country. The whole town will sue. He's made fools of every one of us.
Yes, Lynn Belvedere has used Hummingbird Hill as the background for a wonderfully witty book. And Hummingbird Hill is speedy, all except a few residents, such as Edna Philby and her husband, Bill.
How is she coming to the phone? Well, what is the up? What's the matter? Can't they find Tacey?
Hello, Tacey? Hello? Hi. Oh, Tacey, how are things at home? That was you, Edna. Nothing happened to the bell. Of course not. They're fine. But everyone panic. Well, it seems your precious Mr. Belvedere has written a book. All the time he was living with you, he was collecting notes on Hummingbird Hill.
You knew that's what he was doing? Oh, no. I mean, I've seen the advertisements for the book, but it's all sold out here in Fort Wayne. Well, go on, Edna. Tell me what's happened.
Well, in the first place, Harry's just been fired.
But why?
for harboring Belvedere under his roof.
Hey, tell her about me.
Oh, yeah. And when Bill tried to stand up for Harry, old man Hammond fired Bill, too.
Oh, my gosh.
And you know what they're going to do this afternoon? Some movie company's going to make a newsreel right at your house.
A newsreel?
Uh-huh. They're bringing Belvedere back to get some intimate shots of the master at the scene of his triumph.
Edna, put Harry on the phone. I've just got to speak to Harry.
Well, I'm sorry, Tacey, but we don't know where Harry is.
Well, what's happened to him?
Oh, probably nothing. He's probably just out somewhere looking for a nice soft shoulder to cry on. Bill says that he... Tacey! Hello! Well, the part about the nice soft shoulder must have worked, Bill. 10-1, Tacey takes the first plane home.
What's the matter with you policemen? We're trying to make a newsreel in this house. Can't you keep that mob quiet out there?
We're doing our best, Mr. Billingsley. There must be 2,000 people out here. Half of them want his autograph and half of them want to kill him.
Exactly the type of reaction I anticipated.
Well, I guess we're ready to shoot, Mr. Belvedere. Now, I'll be behind the camera, and I'm going to ask you a few questions. So just be perfectly relaxed, and I'll...
Young man, I need no instructions. I have directed many pictures.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that. All right, boys. Quiet.
Quiet, please. Roll them.
Now, Mr. Belvedere, tell us, how did you write this book?
I wrote it with a quill.
Oh, that's very important.
Who is that? Well, what's that? You're not supposed to let anybody in.
Officer, I live here. I guess I can go into my own house.
I don't know, lady. Hey, Chief, she says she lives here. Let her in, then. Oh, you're Mrs. King, huh?
I most certainly am, and if you try to stop me, I'll sue the police
You
department.
might as well, lady. Everybody else in town has got a lawsuit. Let her through, Al.
Mom, it's Mom! Tony, look!
Larry, Tony. Oh, you darlings. Oh, I missed you so much.
Where's Daddy, Mom?
Oh, I left him with Auntie Edna. Oh, it's so good to see you. Where's Daddy?
He's inside, Mom. They're letting him watch the movie.
Well, we're going to watch, too. Come on.
Mr. Belvedere, critics throughout the country have unanimously hailed your novel as a masterpiece of sheer genius.
That is correct.
Well, how do you feel about it?
I feel they were quite conservative.
Hey, Pop! Mom's back!
Quiet over there. We're trying... Cut. That must be Mrs. King.
It certainly is.
Oh, Tacey. Gosh, I'm glad to see you.
Oh, I had to come back, darling. I came the minute I heard you were in trouble. Don't worry. It'll all work out all right.
I've been such a dope, Tacey.
You have indeed. But there's no need to be emotional, Mrs. King. He won't starve.
Oh, Mr. Belvedere, I don't quite know whether to congratulate you or to...
Strike me with a baseball bat.
Well, yes.
It's a moot point.
Mr. Belvedere, please, we haven't finished shooting.
You are mistaken, young man. We have. Now, run along and take your little helpers with you.
Edna, is that you? Oh, well, come on in.
Roddy wants his mama, Tacey. I'm sorry, but I thought I'd better bring him over.
Come on upstairs, Edna. Let's get out of this shambles.
Yeah, go ahead, dear. I'll be up as soon as I get rid of this gang. Look, fellas, enough's enough. Get all these people and cameras out of here, will you?
Okay, boys, wrap it up.
Just one of the penalties of fame, Mr. King.
Well, I'm not famous.
You will be. My book has made you immortal.
Hey, you can't go in there. I am Horatio J. Hammond, and I'll go anywhere I please. Where is this Belvedere person? Oh, there you are.
Don't you take your hat off when you crash somebody's house?
Don't you talk to me like
I'll
that.
talk to you any way I like. You fired me, remember? Take off your hat.
All right, it's off. Now then, Mr. Belvedere, it gives me the greatest possible pleasure to serve you personally with this summons.
Summons? Well, how interesting.
I am suing you for $1 million for libel.
Splendid. That's a good round sum.
I'm going to sue you, too. And me.
And I, Mr. Taylor.
My mother and I are going to sue for another $1 million. In addition, we shall see that you are run out of town.
Excellent, Mr. Appleton. Such notoriety will cause the sale of my book to soar even higher, if that is possible. Mr. King, Mr. Philby, would you two young men be interested in acting as my attorneys in these threatened suits?
Are you serious?
Mr. King, I never jest about $1 million. Money is the root of all evil, and I have the greatest possible respect for it.
Okay, Mr. Belvedere. We'll be very happy to defend you.
I'll say we will. The law firm of Philby and King will be open tomorrow morning.
And they'll have their work cut out for them because we intend to sue not only you, but everybody who supplied you with this libelous information.
Excellent idea, Mr. Hammond. You should always go to the source.
I intend to.
Has it occurred to any of you gentlemen who that source might be? Who is the person who knows all about everyone in Hummingbird Hill? Who is the one that for years has made a repulsive habit of snooping and gossiping about his neighbors? Who is it among us, for example, who knows all our little peccadillos with girls in florist shops?
The girl was merely delivering flowers to that motel.
And they were not orange blossoms, Mr. Taylor, were they? And you, Mr. McPherson?
Why, you've caricatured me in this book as a drinking man.
It is not I who counts the empty bottles in your trash can, Mr. McPherson.
Just one little moment. Are you insinuating that I...
I let the chips fall where they may, Mr. Appleton.
But I am not
And
the
Mr.
one...
Hammond, who is it that takes a habit of reading his neighbor's mail, their mail?
Oh, this is outrageous. Are you suggesting that I have been your collaborator?
Don't be so presumptuous. Let me put it in terms that even you will understand. You, Mr. Appleton, have spread the pollen. I have reaped the harvest.
But this is fantastic. I have been more grossly maligned in this book than anyone.
It is only poetic justice that a stool pigeon should be roasted.
So you were the one, Appleton.
No, Horatio, let us not be hasty now.
Why, you little weasel.
Horatio, no. Let me alone. Mother, help. Mama!
More toast, Harry? Coffee?
Thanks, Tacey. Hey, take a look at this. They've got Clarence Appleton's picture in the paper. Boy, what a shiner.
I bet it nearly killed him when Mr. Hammond went over and trampled down his iris bed.
Well, how would you like to go celebrating tonight?
Love to. Would you care to take me dancing?
Dancing? Remember, I don't dance as well as Mr. Belvedere.
No, dear, but you're much prettier. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. We can't go anywhere. Who'll sit with the kids?
I will.
Mr. Belvedere.
The mere fact that I have been catapulted into fame does not blind me to the obligation I undertook here.
Mr. Belvedere, you're an amazing man. Just what are your plans for the future?
My dear Mrs. King, this book of mine is only the first volume of a trilogy. I estimate the other 2 volumes will take me at least 2 years more.
And you're going to write them here?
Posterity will demand that the entire masterpiece be written under the same roof. Your house will become a shrine, Mr. King.
I'm surprised that you even want to stay. It can't be very convenient.
You claim you don't even like children.
That is correct. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Oh, Mr. Belvedere.
Yes?
I think it's only fair to tell you that before long we're expecting another child.
Then you will find me of great service, Mrs. King. I was also an obstetrician.
Our stars will return for their curtain calls in a moment. All aboard for London, Paris, Cairo, Honolulu. But hurry, it's the chance of a lifetime. Don't miss the boat in Lever's sensational $50,000 travel contest. You may win the most wonderful vacation you'll ever have in your life.
Just imagine. First prize is a round-the-world tour for 2. All travel expenses paid, plus $1,000 pocket money and $700 for new clothes. Or you can have $10,000 in cash.
And that's not all. 15 wonderful second prizes, too. Each an all-travel expense trip to Europe. Or $2,500 in cash. Besides all that, there are 400 additional cash prizes, each a crisp new $10 bill.
If you win the first prize, you travel in luxury for 101 days. The best accommodations everywhere. All trips are arranged by Thomas Cook & Son, world-famous travel agents.
Get in on this exciting contest tonight. Here's all you do. Just finish this statement in 25 words or less. I like the large-size box of Lux Flakes because. Send each entry with a box top from the large-size Lux Flakes to Lever Tour the World Contest, Box 1, New York 8, New York. Follow complete rules on the entry blank you can get at your store.
Get your entry in this week, sure. This is our last announcement on the Lux Radio Theater. Mail entry to Lever Tour of the World Contest, Box 1, New York 8, New York. Only residents of continental United States, Alaska, and Hawaii are eligible.
We return you now to William Keighley.
We know now why Sitting Pretty was picked as the favorite film of the year. And here are three of the reasons. Robert Young, Maureen O'Hara, and Clifton Webb.
Bill, we'd all like to tell the audience how pleased we are by their selection of Sitting Pretty.
And I think Clifton Webb deserves a special credit for his portrayal of Mr. Belvedere, which has won him a nomination for the Academy Award.
Thank you, Bob.
And now, of course, 20th Century Fox has starred Clifton in a sequel to Sitting Pretty. The new film is Mr. Belvedere Goes to College.
Imagine me in college, the all-American tackle of 1949. I'll probably wind up in the Rose Bowl.
Playing tackle?
No, picking roses.
Well, you'll all be picking up medals later tonight when Sitting Pretty receives Photoplay Magazine's Gold Medal Award at the gala dinner at the Beverly Hills Hotel.
I understand George Jessel will be the master of ceremonies.
That's right, Bob. And our audience can get complete details of all the awards in the March issue of Photoplay Magazine, which is out now. I was very pleased to learn that The Street with No Name has been selected as one of the 10 most popular pictures of the year.
Oh, Bill, before we leave for the dinner, I'd like to pass on a personal award of my own to Lux Flakes. We always have it on hand at my home.
Thank you, Maureen. And now for next week's play. It's a current success from Universal International Studios, The Unafraid. And we'll have the original stars of the picture, Joan Fontaine and Burt Lancaster. This is a hard-hitting action drama that brings together for the first time a new romantic team, the lovely and accomplished actress Joan Fontaine and the two-fisted Burt Lancaster.
You'll have another hit in your hands, Bill. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. I'll see you all later at the Photoplay Awards dinner. Lever Brothers Company, the makers of Lux Flakes, join me in inviting you to be with us again next Monday evening when the Lux Radio Theater presents Joan Fontaine and Burt Lancaster in The Unafraid. This is William Keighley saying good night to you from Hollywood.
Maureen O'Hara appeared through the courtesy of 20th Century Fox, producers of Down to the Sea in Ships, starring Richard Widmark and Lionel Barrymore. Heard in tonight's cast were Gail Gordon as Appleton, Ed Begley as Hammond, Frances Robinson as Edna, and Donald Randolph, Johnny McGovern, Jeffrey Silver, Eddie Marr, Bill Johnstone, Ken Christie, Bob Griffin, Cliff Clark, George Neese, Leon Ledoux, and David Light. Our play was adapted by S.H. Barnett, and our music was directed by Louis Silvers. This program has come to you with the good wishes of the makers of Lux Flakes, the safe, gentle care recommended 33 to 1 by makers of nice washables. We appreciate your many friendly letters telling us of your own experience with our product, and we value your comments and suggestions on plays you'd like to hear. Be sure to join our coast-to-coast listening audience every week for the best in dramatic entertainment on the Lux Radio Theater. This is your announcer, John Milton Kennedy, reminding you to join us again next Monday night to hear The Unafraid, starring Joan Fontaine and Burt Lancaster. Stay tuned for My Friend Irma, which follows over these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.